we have live action at the 2014 Chesapeake Invite, the Pro Elite Flight Challenge. We have a great matchup between Chicago Nemesis and Denver's Molly Brown. I'm Ian Toner. I'm joined today by Brian Kiernan. Brian, as we take a look over at this Nemesis squad, who should we be keeping our eyes on in this game?
Thanks, Ian. From Nemesis, we're looking at two players here. Sarah Miller, the co-captain. She's just an incredibly calm, confident thrower. The offense is going to run through her. A lot of touches on the discs. We're also looking at number 99, Katie Dyer. Dyer's moving to O-line this year. She has incredible speed, jumping ability, and is also very consistent.
Taking a look over at Molly Brown. If you're talking about this team, you got to be talking about their biggest addition, 2013 Callahan winner, Claire Chastain. She comes from Phoenix. She has experience with the University of North Carolina, Wilmington. She's a very talented defender, very skilled with the disc. Can be the heart and soul of any team she's a part of. Another player to watch on Molly Brown is number 23, Lauren Boyle. Lauren captained Molly Brown for 2 years and played a huge role in the formation of the team. She is taking a step back from captaining this year, but she remains a leader on the field. We're excited to see what she's going to bring to Molly Brown in this pool play matchup. Round 3 here at the Chesapeake Invite. Brian, we've already called one game on this field. We've seen the wind shift from upwind, downwind to crosswind, back and forth. How do you think that's going to impact this matchup?
Right, Ian. Very similar conditions that we saw from the first game. We know there's a lot of very strong throwers in our first two teams that we covered, Double Wide and Goat. Not that there's any shortage of throwers here, but we might expect them to struggle a little more as wind starts to swirl, and we'll keep you updated on how the weather conditions are.
So Nemesis pulls it, and Claire Chastain's going to pick up right away. Lindsay Cross deep. Chastain doesn't hit her. Little reset action with Carolyn Matthews. Chastain in the middle of the field. Back to Chastain. Up to Sally Lambert. And her shot into the end zone is just a tad too far. And Nemesis is going to have a chance to break here on the first point, marching up from their own goal line.
Yeah, Ian, trapped in that corner going upwind. It's going to be a tough break, but I'm sure they'll take any chance they can get to put one in here.
Nice inside-out throw, upfield reset. Great dump defense from Molly Brown. And that undercut goes just off the hands of Amelia Garcia. Chastain picks up and sends it up the field immediately. Disc reset to Chastain. Chastain's first year on the team, but she's already an integral part of this offense. We see her calmly catch that reset, throw a nice flick to space. A nice, easy score for Molly Brown. So before we get too deep into things here, we're going to take a look at the elemental keys to the game. Brian, what's Nemesis going to have to do to win this game?
Well, Ian, Nemesis is looking at a sort of a new roster from last year. They had a lot of turnover. They have a lot of new players, a lot of young players. They're going to want to integrate that new talent, try to find those sort of teammate synergies that those certain people seem to have chemistry on the field. They want to exploit that.
Looking at Molly Brown, they have a number of larger athletic cutters that can impose their will. In the cutting lanes, we want them to stretch the field. And in talking with Carolyn Matthews, one of Molly Brown's captains, she said that emphasis in practice has been placed on proper defensive footwork and positioning. And so they want to focus on blue-collar defense, but Nemesis is streaking deep right away here. We see our two players to watch heavily involved right off the bat. Sarah Miller and Katie Dyer. Miller with the disc now. Looking to break the mark. Resets to Sam Kane, whose shot is just a tad too far for her receiver to the far side cone. A difficult angle there. And Molly Brown's gonna pick up on their own goal line with a chance to break, slightly upwind. Chastain picking up the disc. First undercut is shut down. Aggressive mark takes away the next undercut. And a deep shot to Paige Applegate goes in and out of her hands.
There we see Dyer with the quick catch and throw. And a great effort by Christine Dube.
Looks like the receiver was able to get her hands on it, but just couldn't come in, as she couldn't reel it in as she was falling to the ground. A difficult catch. Interesting angle there. The observers for today's game, Mitch Dangler and Brett Matzuka. Dangler's been a very prominent observer in many of the club and college national tournaments. Has a lot of experience, and a great poach block there from Katie Dyer.
Just fantastic awareness there from Dyer. It's really her body, her momentum was headed the other way, stops on a dime. Now she's looking to get that disc under. She will. Dishes it off quick to Miller.
That one gets caught in the wind. Matthews gonna pick up here. Nice little reset to Chastain. And a deep shot goes up to Lindsay Cross, who lays out. Her momentum was kind of, before that disc went up, she was kind of going sideways, kind of coming in. A little bit of a trust throw, just didn't quite work out there.
Yep, this wind's swirling around now. It'll make the disc do funny things. Put a lot of action on it. See what Nemesis can do. Great sliding grab here.
Great grab by Nemesis.
We're seeing both of these teams come out firing on all cylinders. Tons of layouts, tons of deep shots. So we have a stoppage here.
Sarah Miller with the disc on the sideline. There's a foul call. Matthews on the mark. Miller with the disc, looks for her reset. Well defended. A no around mark from Matthews. And then she transitions back to normal, and the reset gets off to Sam Kane. Katie Dyer. Up to Carol Lee, who shoots deep. I believe that was a shot for Carrie Bolt. A nice outside in flick that kind of bends, but it's just a step too far for her bidding receiver.
Yeah, great effort from Bolt. Like we were saying earlier, we've seen both these teams flying around a number of layouts this early in the game. Definitely a lot of energy.
And Chastain has the disc on her own goal line, is gonna call a timeout. Molly Brown leads 1-0 over Nemesis. And we will be right back after this word from our sponsors. Welcome back to Next Gen's coverage of the 2014 USAU Triple Crown Tour here in Leesburg, Virginia at the Chesapeake Invite Pro Elite Flight Challenge. We have a women's pool play matchup between Denver's Molly Brown and Chicago Nemesis. Molly Brown leads 1-0. They've just called a timeout. They have a chance to break here. And a great grab there. Lindsay Cross on the goal line finds Paige Applegate, and that is the first break of the game Molly Brown leads 2-0. Tremendous body positioning by the Molly Brown receiver there, Brian, on that deep shot.
Right, that timeout really pays off. We see an excellent deep read here. You watch the receiver cut back, get under her defender, and go right to that disc. Makes for an easy, easy toss-in goal.
So Molly Brown leads 2-0 here over Chicago Nemesis. Nemesis having an interesting year where a handful of their players in the offseason moved from Chicago to Boston and joined Boston's Brute Squad. The likes of Cammie Groom and Leanne Hoffman, two of Ultiworld's all-club first-team nominees from the 2013 College Nationals tournament.
Yep, Ian, we can see they're already contributing on Brute Squad. Brute Squad's early season success that they saw last weekend.
So Nemesis is going to start. Looks like they're in a side stack, but Molly Brown comes out and throws it looks like a large four-man cup. Nemesis trying to stay patient in their own goal line. And the around throw to try and go around the cup goes just too far. Molly Brown's going to have the disc on the doorstep with a chance to go up 3-0. A nice reset to Maggie Chen. Maggie Chen looking for Anna Updike there, but her flick goes just a little too far inside. Nemesis picks up, and Molly Brown quickly tries to transition and set up the cup, but the wing defender is able to come in and get a block right away. And Molly Brown's got another chance to break. And Emily Stegg goes right to the four-side cone, just completely uncovered. And Brian, Molly Brown, if you're a believer in momentum, Molly Brown has all the momentum right now, leading 3-0.
Oh, absolutely, and this is devastating to Nemesis. You know, some teams will play games to 3 sort of mentally and have a reset. Right now, Molly Brown just totally swept that first game. This first phase of the game, they're off to a roaring start. Nemesis is going to have to make some adjustments. It seems like just some execution errors, maybe some planning errors. Molly Brown firing on all cylinders.
An interesting season ahead for Molly Brown. It is their first season without Cat Williams after his experience coaching Molly Brown for a number of years. Cat, of course, the famous Colorado University Mama Bird coach who coached the likes of men's division standouts Bo Kittredge, Martin Cochran, Julian Dahl, and Mac Taylor. Molly Brown leading 3-0 here. The wind playing a factor, allowing Molly Brown to set a zone, impacting some pulls. We see Maggie Chen on the mark here for Molly Brown. Miller trying to fake and move the cup.
We've been seeing a lot of Miller Dyer so far for Nemesis.
Miller resets to Carol Lee. Carol Lee, nice shot through the cup to Dyer. Dyer's flick stays on her finger just for a second too long. Maggie Chen looks up, picks up, looking to fast break right away. Stegg with the disc on the sideline. She's going to shoot a floaty flick into the end zone. Great defensive play by Nemesis, maintaining position and coming down with that block. Now Dyer moving up the field.
We're going to see if Nemesis can outrun this Molly Brown zone. We hear the coach on the sideline telling them to keep running, keep pushing that pace, don't let them set that up.
Great adjustment from Nemesis. They're able to eat up 50 yards right away. Now they're in the red zone.
Molly Brown's in a full man defense. They don't have to worry about that zone.
Reset to Miller, now to Lee. Lee can't break the mark. Looking inside. Dyer lays out, it goes off her hands, and she can't make the grab. Great pressure there from a Molly Brown defender as well. Lauren Bacher. Bacher looking for her reset, who clears. Maggie Chen's close. A nice inside-out upfield reset throw. Stall is called. Great mechanics by Mitch Dangler. Thanks for making that clear. And Mitch rules that it was a stall. Carol Lee's gonna pick up right outside the Molly Brown end zone. Looking to reset, back to Miller. Miller doesn't hit the around. She pumps and hits a second around. Nice grab for Nemesis there.
And just out of the reach of the intended receiver. It looks like Nemesis is actually having a lot more success with this sort of run and go offense, maybe figure it out as they go along. Once they stagnate, Molly Brown's really gotten the chance to shut them down.
Molly Brown deep in their own end zone, working upwind. Not an easy situation. Bacher with an interesting break throw to Maggie Chen. Up to Megan Cousins. Cousins doesn't hit the deep shot. Instead goes up line. And that throw's defended quite well. For a second, there might have been a foul call, but no call. Molly Brown's gonna stay in their man defense. Carol Lee picks up. Who else but Katie Dyer gets the first under. Miller streaking up line. And a tremendous block for Molly Brown by Lauren Boyle, one of the longtime leaders of Molly Brown. No longer a captain this year, but still involved in a number of committees on the team.
Certainly a goal-saving D. And now we see Nemesis with a turnover.
Maggie Chen streaking deep. Emily Bacher puts it up. Dyer's fighting to get there, and she'll get some help from the wind and get that D. Up to Miller, who's shooting deep. And Megan Cousins maintains position on her receiver and gets the block. However, Mitch Dangler signals that there's a foul. Brian, we'll see if we can get another look at that one. Did you think that there was any illegal contact there?
I don't know, Ian. It's always hard to tell when you're not in the play, but it looks like that it was ruled as a clean play. Great call by Dangler.
So Bacher set to pick up.
Molly Brown running a host stack offense.
Nice inside shot to Megan Cousins. She finds Emily Stagg under. Can't quite adjust as the throw is about to go over her head. Carol Lee with a great throw to the end zone. Tremendous bid by Lisa Doan, who can't quite get there.
And Nemesis will hang on for their first point.
Great bid by Doan. Just makes it past her reach into the arms of JJ Jarek. It's really good to see Nemesis get on the board here. Few signs of life from their offense. And Brian, as you pointed out, when they're working against this Molly Brown zone, it definitely benefits them to pick up the disc, push the pace, and fast break as quickly as they can.
Well, that certainly looks like what's giving them the most success so far. We can see if Molly Brown makes an adjustment. They look like they had their number, had them locked down early on, but signs of life from this Nemesis offense. Really getting the disc swung side to side is opening up those quick inside cuts and not having to rely on those break shots where they're going to have to out-throw the athletic Molly Brown defenders. A tall order in these windy, swirly conditions.
360 pull from Nemesis. It's gonna make it to the opposing brick mark. Up to Applegate. Applegate back to Bacher. Bacher over to Christina Mickle. And Mickle with the outside in throw to the inside out lane, trying to find Applegate, but too much traffic in the area. Nemesis is going to be working upwind from its own goal line.
Nemesis forced a punt. They do have a receiver under the disc. She was very close to it. We might see a strip call here. Matsuka signals that there is a foul.
The disc will actually, as we get a look at the replay there, looks like Molly Brown came down with the disc cleanly. Great defense from Stephanie Frost. Matthews trapped on the sideline, rips an inside flick, a bailout to Bacher, who catches it in traffic. Back to Matthews, can't quite hang on to that reset. Katie Reynolds streaks deep, but Nemesis is in no hurry to pick up.
Yeah, we're hearing an excellent layout to you there.
Frost. Well defended by Garcia. Gets the disc right back with a tremendous hand block, and we see a break side huck go up to Garcia. She maintains position.
Here we see Nemesis running and gunning.
An inside throw to Reynolds is too far. Bacher's there to get the D. Believe there's some kind of call.
Quick stoppage.
Injury called. Thanks again to Mitch Dangler for the great mechanics and communication.
We see Miller come on the field.
Great inside shot there. Just not quite on target. Bacher in the right position to get the block. And Molly Brown is gonna sub out Frost, and Claire Chastain's gonna come in. A wise decision given how well she's been fitting into this offense for Molly Brown. Bacher to Mickle. Mickle finds Dory Franklin. Franklin upfield. Applegate streaking. Looking for Applegate inside, and that throw dies. I think if Molly Brown would have thrown that with a little more of an inside-out edge, it could have carried back towards the receiver, but the slight outside-in bend carried it out of Applegate's reach.
Yep, always a tough throw to hit, and in this swirling winds, it's not something you want to count on, though the receiver was very open.
And Bacher, after the Nemesis turnover, aggressively tries to break the mark. She's going to draw a foul, and she'll have a new stall count here.
That's something you'll see from experienced throwers a lot, is when they're encountering sort of a more physical mark, they'll try to step through and take that throw anyways, because a lot of times you'll be able to get the disc to a place where your receiver can take a hold of it, and it's almost always going to be a foul, so it's sort of viewed as a free throw, maybe a counter to the common wisdom of the tighter defense is better.
Chastain working with Bacher. A shot to the end zone to Dory Franklin. Works her way in between two Nemesis defenders, and Molly Brown is able to hold and take a 4-1 lead. So we saw two Nemesis defenders closing in on Franklin, but she managed to beat them to the far side cone. And with that 4-1 lead, we're gonna take a timeout and we'll have a word from our sponsors. Welcome back to Next Gen's coverage of the 2014 USA Ultimate Triple Crown Tour. We are here in Leesburg, Virginia at the Chesapeake Invite, the Pro Elite Flight Challenge. We have women's pool play action here between Denver Molly Brown and Chicago Nemesis. My name's Ian Toner. I'm joined by Brian Kiernan. Denver's jumped out to an early lead, Brian. They're up 4-1. What do you credit that lead to?
Well, we saw a number of miscommunications on the Nemesis side. Like we said, the key to their success this game is going to be able to learn to play with this sort of new roster they have. They had a bit of turnover last year. They're still a very strong team, though, still very capable. But it looks like they're, despite it being in the third round, still getting some of the kinks out. So if they can find an offensive groove they can sit in, they'll probably stop the turnovers, and we've already seen an extremely spirited game of defense. Tons of layouts on both sides. Should be an exciting finish.
Claire Chastain pulling a lot of double duty for Molly Brown. She's going to pull, and Nemesis hucks into double coverage. Well defended by Sally Lambert. This is Sally's 10th year in the club division. She has experience with Brute Squad and Quiet Coyote. Lindsey Cross is going to pick up on Molly Brown's own goal line. Back to Cross. Dory Franklin gets a big under. Breaks the mark. Sally Lambert up to Jean Russell, one of the younger players on Molly Brown. Goes to Dory Franklin, and Russell tries to throw a no pivot inside out backhand, and she believes she was fouled, but the disc is going to stay with Dory Franklin. And Franklin's break throw goes into the turf, but she drew a lot of contact.
Yeah, Ian, stepping through that contact, she's going to be able to get that throw back. Such an effective move on the goal line.
Franklin resets to Chastain. Chastain's got a big inside lane. She finds Cross on the goal line. Cross pivoting aggressively. And a little miscommunication there between Cross and Chastain, and nice lockdown D from Nemesis, and they've got the disc back. Miller's gonna pick up. Dishes it out to Carol Lee. Carol Lee's gonna shoot deep, and Laura Moore will reel it in. Swung to Miller. Miller with a nice inside throw to Emily Hadel, one of Nemesis's captains, who we were able to speak to before this weekend. And Nemesis has got to be happy with that hold after being all the way up against their own goal line.
Yeah, we see Hadel fired up here to catch that goal. It was certainly a hard-fought point. If Nemesis can get a little fire here, we could see a comeback.
So Denver leads 4-2 over Chicago Nemesis. This is the third round of pool play here at the Chesapeake Invite Pro Elite Challenge. We've seen the wind do a number of things, Brian. Where's it at right now?
It's picking up and leaving, which makes it almost more difficult than, say, a constant 10 or 15 mile an hour wind. While that's unpleasant to plan, it's at least predictable. Here you can have an open throw just go and die on you or sail on you, or maybe on a defense you have a wide open D and it just pops over your head. It's very frustrating for players and tough for spectators to see those kind of things happen.
So Nemesis staying alive after going down 3-0. We'll see if we see any kind of defensive adjustments from them. We've seen a lot of straight man. 360 pull. Is going to roll to the sideline. Not sure if that was the initial plan. But Claire Chastain's going to pick up Garcia on the mark. We see a split stack from Molly Brown's offense. Snodgrass clears out, makes some space for Lindsey Cross. Good poaching from the Nemesis cutter defenders. And the deep shot goes up to Snodgrass. Just goes over her hands. And Nemesis is going to pick up. J.J. Jarek with the disc. Jarek lets a deep shot go that's going to hang in the wind. We got 6 players under it.
Oh, and just out of the reach.
Garcia usually comes down with those, but that was a tough situation. And Molly Brown shoots right back to Carolyn Matthews, who finds Lauren Boyle. And Molly Brown, after a few turnovers, ends up getting a quick hold. They're up 5-2. Great awareness from Lindsey Cross after she picks up the disc to see the streaking receiver. Great aggressiveness from Carolyn Matthews. A nice throw that makes it to the receiver, and a quality hold for Molly Brown. Lauren Boyle has a lot of experience in the Colorado Ultimate community. She's one of the driving forces in girls and women's Ultimate. She coached the Monarch High School team to several state championships and a high school Westerns championship. Many of her players went on to play for CU Boulder. And one of her players, Neen Yen, is headed to Lecco to play in the U19 World Ultimate Junior Championship. Boyle also coached Colorado's YCC team, Cutthroat. And she's currently helping out with the Colorado Women's B team. We see the pull go up from Molly Brown. Miller's gonna pick up. Another zone from Molly Brown. Brian, we saw this earlier.
Yeah, Molly Brown was using this zone very effectively. It's sort of a 4-man cup.
It looks like they're forcing middle.
Just making Nemesis throw as many throws as they can. Just hoping for something, a quick drop. And there's their defensive opportunity as Nemesis goes to throw through the cup. Moving it quickly up the field now. Here's Miller. Very confident looking in this cup. Here you see Sam Kane back on the field after she went off earlier. That's good to see that she's not injured.
And we see the wind getting the better of one throw, but Nemesis maintains possession. Miller. Gets it back. Dyer on the goal line now. Miller's attacking up line. Catches the reset. Pick called. A lot of switching going on there with the Molly Brown defense trying to protect that front cone. We see Maggie Chen out in the lane. Around to Kane. Nemesis very patient on the goal line here. Back to Miller. Over to Dyer. Dyer shoots to the front cone. And Becky Moore is going to beat her defender there. And Nemesis has a hold. They trail Molly Brown 5-3. Great patience in the red zone.
Oh yeah, looking much better than earlier.
Lots of work between Dyer, Miller, and others. Content to use the width of the field, swing the disc back and forth until the right opportunity opens up.
Here we get a shot at Nemesis' new coach in his first year, Mark Furigay. Excels with personalized one-on-one attention and throwing technique, something that a team with a lot of new players is going to especially benefit from. It's very good at breaking down all the motions of stack in a methodical way that everyone on the team can relate to.
So Nemesis trailing 5-3, pulling, the wind picking up, kind of going a little diagonally from our backs here on the sidelines. Boyle to Applegate, Dishy to Chastain.
Very deep cutters here from Molly Brown. They're getting a lot of yards in these undercuts.
Chastain to Cousins. Cousins to Doan. Doan to Chastain. That one tips off Chastain's fingers. Nemesis is going to have a chance to break here. And a first throw D from Boyle. Cousins catches it on a second attempt. Swings it to another receiver. And Applegate gets open on the break side. And Molly Brown, with even after one turnover, with another quick hold, they're leading 6-3.
Fairly comfortably. It looks like Molly Brown's really in control of this game right now.
And Brian, this game is by no means over. We've seen response from Nemesis, but looking ahead to deeper in the tournament, if Molly Brown runs into a brute squad or a scandal, do you think they're going to get as many of those turnovers right back against the more talented teams?
Yeah, that's a tough call. You know, every team has its day, and some teams are going to turn it over, but those top teams really stand apart from other competition in that they don't really make those simple mistakes. If they do, it's one or two. They won't really let you go on a run and get that momentum that's really carried Molly Brown. We've seen them kind of go on spurts where they'll be in extreme dominance, and then we'll see Nemesis rail off a couple scores, and then Molly Brown's right on top again. So I think that it's a testament to the teams that are way at the top not making those silly mistakes. Really keeps the momentum from shifting all the way to the other side and keeps the game in their control. So I think they certainly have a good chance. Molly Brown's a very talented squad, as is Nemesis, but I wouldn't expect to see so many silly mistakes from other teams.
Carolyn Matthews with the pull. That pull lands just out of bounds. Miller's going to be able to take it at midfield. We take a look over at the other sideline there. We see Chicago Machine joining the crowd and rooting for Nemesis.
Always great to see that support.
A first throw drop from Nemesis. Bacher's throw puts a receiver just out of bounds. A great bid, but Miller's going to pick up here. Another chance to start the offense. And she'll shoot deep to J.J. Jarek, and a great read. Didn't necessarily box out her defender, but just read it better and went up at the right time. Tremendous grab from J.J. Jarek.
Absolutely, so impressive. Really getting the disc at its highest point. Just elevates and sticks the grab. Easier said than done in this wind.
Miller not afraid to just pick up and shoot deep, even after a turnover in these interesting wind conditions. Definitely had a little bit of help with the wind slightly at her back there.
Yeah, if it's going to be a game of field position, why not win the game of field position? You might get a fantastic catch like that out of it.
So Nemesis trailing Molly Brown 6-4 here at the 2014 Chesapeake Invite Pro Elite Flight Challenge. I'm Ian Toner. I'm joined by Brian Kiernan. This is our second game of the weekend. Next Gen will be bringing you 6 more games this weekend, 2 more from pool play, and 4 championship bracket games on Sunday. Carol Lee gets set to pull for Nemesis. A nice big outside in backhand. Makes it just past midfield. Chastain's going to pick up, working against a backhand force. Cross in isolation. Great work. Driving her cutter deep. Great job getting open by Cross, but the execution on the continuation throw, just not enough heft on that flick blade to carry into Dory Franklin's arms. Nemesis working from its own goal line. Lindsay Cross close to that D. Can't quite get there. And that one goes off the hands of Emily Hadel, a tough grab. And Molly Brown's gonna pick up with the disc about 15 yards outside the Nemesis end zone. Lots of isolation space. 3 cutters staying at the back of the end zone for Molly Brown. And all of that space opens up a great throw from Claire Chastain to Lindsay Cross.
How much Chastain to Cross have we seen so far today? It looks like probably one of their best connections. Certainly tons of open undercuts, and I would expect to see even some deep cuts from them.
Molly Brown leads 7-4. We'll be back with a word from our sponsors. Welcome back to Next Gen's coverage of the 2014 USA Ultimate Triple Crown Tour here in Leesburg, Virginia at the Pro Elite Flight Challenge Chesapeake Invite. My name's Ian Toner. I'm joined by Brian Kiernan. Brian, Molly Brown's got the lead after this first half, and that is thanks in big part to their zone defense and to the play of Claire Chastain.
Oh yeah, the defense has really been doing its job. The zone's been throwing shaky looks, forcing little turnovers, just people getting impatient and disc getting caught up by the swirly wind. And also, we can't say enough about Chastain. She's really brought she has all the throws. She knows where to be. She's calming, leadership presence, just really the whole package. First year on this Molly Brown team, really helping them out here.
So Chastain will pull here for the Molly Brown defense. A nice upwind pull. Gets some of the best hang time we've seen so far this game. Miller set to pick up for Nemesis. Over to Carol Lee. Up to Dyer. Chastain on the mark. Gets a piece of that reset throw. Thought there might have been contact before the release, but credited with the partial hand block.
Yeah, absolutely. Great mark. Marks often undervalued. People get lazy on their marks, but you can do great things like Chastain there.
Maggie Chen gets an under. Pivots, but goes upfield to Tina Snodgrass. Dishy back to Maggie Chen, who's going to shoot up line. And it's a difficult throw upwind, but just a little too much juice on it. Katie Dyer, who's already gotten a nice poach block today, gets into that deep space and knocks it down. Sam Kane going to pick up for the Nemesis offense. You see a bunch of 7 cuts from the break side, curling back in towards the stack. Kane with a nice break throw up to Miller. Miller back to Kane. Around to Lee, who leaves it for Dyer. Dyer being marked by Lindsay Cross. A great matchup there. 2 athletic cutters. And Dyer punts it. Chastain just has to half-heartedly maintain position to make sure that one falls to the turf.
She just escorts that disc to the ground, and we'll be able to pick up here fresh off that stop disc. We've seen the Molly Brown cutters set up a lot farther than the Nemesis cutters. The Nemesis cutters are looking to set up under. Oh, as we see a great layout D attempt there. Putting the pressure on it. Molly Brown does turn it over. Nemesis signaling that they want to slow the pace down. Miller pick up over to Dyer. Working on this goal line. This is where they've seen a lot of their success, is just working this back and forth. We have a turnover here. Molly Brown looking to go deep. Here's cross. She'll hit the under instead. Looking for a reset now. Cross on the sideline. She'll take a deep shot. And a great read to come back to that disc. Molly Brown just 10 yards outside the end zone. Here's Chastain up the line. She'll put it, and that's an easy score.
Interesting defensive adjustments from Nemesis. It looks like they had opportunities to switch there and take away Chastain's upline cut, but she capitalizes on the open space and attacks, and after that turnover, it was Molly Brown who we saw pushing the pace on that point.
Yeah, Nemesis is walking off the field looking a little, probably tired from all that running, but they look a little bewildered, to be honest. Molly Brown kind of switched their offense up there, maybe hit them with a little surprise, and really worked out. They marched it right up the field.
Right before Chastain's goal there, a great adjustment by Lisa Doan to come back under and accelerate towards the disc that was blading. Molly Brown now leads 8-4 over Nemesis. Chastain out there, looks like she's calling out individual person assignments. So not sure that we'll see that zone again this point. Carolyn Matthews, wife of Johnny Bravo captain Ryan Farrell, getting set to pull.
Big pull from Matthews. This is going to go all the way down in the end zone. Nemesis has a lot of room to start with. This first throw, errant, over the head, and it will not be completed.
Jean Russell was there to apply pressure. Didn't get her hand on the disc, but applied pressure and didn't allow an easy centering pass. And she picks up right away and gets the reset. Looked like she was gonna call a foul on Garcia's mark there, but Katie Reynolds working with the disc for Nemesis. And Applegate kind of undercuts that strike cut and gets a nice D. Updike. Molly Brown, 20 yards outside the end zone. Swing to Matthews. Matthews' throw can't quite stay up. Again, this wind is really swirling. Hard to tell if it's a real crosswind or if it's actually at her back. When you got the wind at the back, the bottom of those throws just seems to fall out sometimes. Something that Lou Burris talked about in his Skyd magazine article about playing in the wind this week. See Nemesis working it up the 4 sideline now, and they're gonna streak deep. But we see the wind interfering with that flick once again.
Yeah, the wind currently is a pretty strong upwind, downwind situation where we're seeing Molly Brown picking up where they'll be going downwind. I wouldn't be surprised to see a deep throw or two here from Molly Brown. They'd have an open cutter here.
Christy Chung. Over to Matthews, a nice dishy huck play. But Nemesis is there to make the D. A great block from the Nemesis defender. And they'll be working upwind again. Katie Reynolds gets the first under on Jean Russell. Reynolds swings just a tad too far. Applegate's gonna pick up. And a tremendous block. This Nemesis defense is not giving up in its own end zone. Christy Chung thought she was going to have a nice four-side score, but the Nemesis defender had other ideas.
It's a textbook D, just staying on the cutters, inside shoulder, extending right at the point of contact. It's really well done.
Garcia with a nice upline throw. She's a big, deep threat, but Nemesis is going to turn it over again. Molly Brown will start at midfield. Updike looking for Applegate, and Applegate with a tremendous layout grab, putting Molly Brown up 9-4.
Absolutely fantastic from Applegate. She's been running all over the field. Motor, just a total motor on defense and offense. She worked hard for that, and really paid off.
Molly Brown making the most of that turnover, pushing the pace quickly, and striking in the end zone. They're up 9-4. A reminder that today's games in pool play only go to 13.
This is a very comfortable lead here for Molly Brown. You know, this early in the tournament, Ian, would you expect games that are out of reach, teams that are sort of conventionally run through a couple players, might say, hey, this game is going to take a lot of effort to win, if even possible. Let's rest our better players. Would you expect to see that out of Nemesis, or do you think they'll keep firing?
Yeah, you know, it's a great question, and given the context, how early this season, how early things are in the season, and how kind of light the squads are, and how much they're trying to develop chemistry, I wouldn't be surprised to see the inexperienced players get some more reps. I think that's definitely something we could see from Nemesis. Not too familiar with Coach Mark Furigay's philosophy. Not sure if he's one to develop depth or keep fighting until the end, so something we'll keep an eye on as the game continues. Miller's gonna bring the disc in for the Nemesis offense with Chastain on the mark. Nemesis comes out in a vert stack. Carol Lee catches the dishy and shoots deep for Captain Emily Hadel. And she tried to attack it, I think, just a tad too early. Disc bends over her head, and she's gonna hobble off and take an injury. We see another great cutter in Garcia coming on in her stead.
Yeah, it looks like Hadel's cramping up. You know, it's only the middle of the day here. I know she's one of their stars. Maybe they should take a look at giving them a little more rest. You don't want your best players cramping up in the middle of the game. That'll really put a tough bind on your team in later rounds if you have those sort of issues that might be unnecessary.
And a deep shot from Chastain goes off the hands of Sally Lambert. Great extension. She definitely had a shot at it. Here's Kane. Kane to Miller. Garcia. Back to Miller. A tough reset throw. Around to Lee.
Here we saw Chastain pushing Miller up the field there. When those dumps are flicked, they're kind of hard to hit in this wind, trying to throw that touch throw up the field. But as we see, no problem. Nemesis gets a nice touch flick up the line. They find themselves right outside the end zone. There's
Or more.
Sam Kane had an open cut up the line. A little perplexed as to what the call was.
Mitch Dangler, always one to take control of the situation on the field. Properly instructs the players to go back to where they were when the call was made. And a phenomenal layout block from Claire Chastain. Just when you thought Miller had her beat up line.
Absolutely goal saving, and she makes it look so easy. This is a very casual catch catch layout block at about shoulder level. I'll tell you, there's not many players that can do that.
Chastain leading the offense now. Lambert. Cousins with the next under. Nice one-handed grab. Over to Doan. And she'll shoot to Snodgrass with a nice little mid-range shot. Brian, first of all, phenomenal block by Claire Chastain. Second of all, when the Molly Brown offense got going, we saw some textbook dishy huck offense.
Yeah, and it's just as easy as that. Chastain gets that D, and in 5 or 6 throws, the disc is already in the other end zone. So showing how fast they can work the disc, they can work it patiently, they can play great defense. Just outstanding D there from Chastain.
And that shot from Doan to Snodgrass made possible by some great undercutting and nice bumps and dishes out to the attacking handlers. So Molly Brown fully in the driver's seat now. 10-4. Remember that games are played to 13. Lisa Doan getting set to pull for Molly Brown. Doan just threw the last score. This is some of Doan's first truly competitive club experience, having identified herself as a league player coming into this weekend.
Here we see that Molly Brown zone coming out again. That same 4-man cup. Nemesis does break it through. You know, oftentimes in zones, the purpose isn't really to get a D. It's more to make the offense do something they're not comfortable with and present you with an opportunity for an easy takeaway. Looks like Molly Brown's cup is doing just that, as Nemesis looks kind of confused. Not a lot of motion going on. Always a telltale sign that the offense isn't flowing well when you see people standing still. Having a really tough time getting off the goal line here. The wind has picked up significantly. That throw is directly into the wind. It'll hang. And it'll be a turnover. Molly Brown looking to rush with the pickup.
Frost to Chen right away. Chen's got all the time in the world. Boyle directing her cutters. She wanted an inside lane cut. Got it from Frost, but that throw was just a little bit too high for her to hang on to.
Definitely picked up a little bit of English with the wind there. It's headed directly downwind.
Molly Brown sets the zone once again. Not a lot of movement, as you mentioned, from Nemesis.
Hadel with a quick dishy.
And a tremendous D by Lisa Doan. We've seen a lot of athletic plays from this Molly Brown zone. Other Ds from Christy Chung. And another hammer goes over the top.
Quite ambitious.
But Becca Ludford is there to get the D. And Nemesis works to check the disc back in, working against this zone once again. A nice throw through the cup to J.J. Jarek, who tries to swing immediately, and that throw is going to go out of bounds. Boyle will pick up. And Boyle calls a timeout with Molly Brown leading 10-4 here in the third round of pool play at the Chesapeake Invite. We will be back after this word from our sponsors. Welcome back to Next Gen's coverage of the 2014 USA Ultimate Triple Crown Tour. I'm Ian Toner. I'm joined by Brian Kiernan. We've got some pool play action between Denver's Molly Brown and Chicago Nemesis. Molly Brown's been in control of this game since the late first half. They now lead 10-4. Lauren Boyle has the disc coming in off a timeout. That's the soft cap horn you just heard go off in the background. Molly Brown once again leaving a lot of space for a few cutters to work in the front of the end zone with 3 cutters stretched to the back. Dory Franklin up line.
And that's too easy for Molly Brown. They put that in, with that making the score now 11-4. That soft cap game will still be to 13.
Molly Brown in the driver's seat now. And let's take a look now, if we can, at the Patagonia play at the game. Earlier in the second half, Molly Brown was trying to capitalize on a turnover. There was a shot to the end zone, and Paige Applegate just extends fully for the grab near the front corner. And that, once again, is our Patagonia play of the game. Patagonia, one of the great sponsors of a number of club teams, elite and other competitive levels. They provide pro team and individual pro discounts.
Such a well-deserved score there. She'd been working so hard. Hustle pays off. You win games with your legs.
So Molly Brown in the driver's seat, up 11-4. Carolyn Matthews defers to Christina Mickle, who will pull for Molly Brown. Mickle, we initially thought wasn't going to play this weekend, is trying to come back from an injury, but she's played well so far this game. Miller picks up, over to Kane, up to Dyer, back to Kane, around to Miller, over to Lee. Lee's got a wide open Dyer across the field, but not quite looking at that over-the-top shot.
Molly Brown looks like they're having a little bit of trouble setting this cup up, though. They now seem to have it under control.
Nemesis definitely doing a better job of moving the disc back and forth, and a little miscommunication. The disc goes off Miller's hands. An unfortunate turnover for Nemesis. And we're going to see a deep shot to Chung. And she comes down with the incredible grab. Chung plays much larger than her size, attacks the space, establishes position, goes up, and Molly Brown has a 12-4 lead.
Here we'll see it again. Just a perfect read. It's great to be aggressive like that. Just go straight up for it, get the highest point. Really nothing that can be done any better than what we saw here.
An excellent throw upwind as well from Molly Brown. We saw Nemesis struggle with that mid-range shot earlier in this game, but Molly Brown right on the money there.
There's not much we now see Molly Brown struggling with in this game. I'll be interested to see how they fare the rest of this tournament. They seem like they're really clicking now. Potential game point here as Molly Brown sets out to pull.
Nemesis is going to have to pull off quite the run to keep this game alive. Molly Brown definitely in the interest of, capitalizing on execution and getting this closing out experience, definitely wants to get this break with the wind at its back and end the game as quickly as possible. Goes over to Megan Tormey, up to Emily Hadel. Back to Tormey.
The wind has picked up significantly for this point, as if Molly Brown had control over the weather. Here we'll see that float. And they'll come down with it. Molly Brown on the doorstep. This is for game point.
Back to Matthews. Matthews on the end zone line.
Looking to break inside. She has an isolation. She'll hit her. She's outside the end zone. On the cone.
Chung with a nice offhand backhand fake. Resets to Matthews.
There's an open cutter. She'll hit her anyways. Good bid by Hadel, but it won't be enough. as Molly Brown takes the game, 13-4.
Great cut there by Anna Updike. She was open on the break side really briefly, adjusted her cut after Carolyn Matthews couldn't hit her and came back to the foreside as we get another look at Emily Steggy's D. And Matthews throwing the winning score to Updike. So that concludes the third round of pool play here at the 2014 Pro Elite Challenge at the Chesapeake Invite. Molly Brown tops Nemesis 13-4. And stay tuned. After a few moments, we will resume with coverage of Ozone versus Schwa. For Brian Kiernan, I'm Ian Toner. Thanks for tuning in.